If you're an advanced beginner or an intermediate guitar player who has aspirations of being a really good player one day, have you ever sat down and spent the time to figure out how you're actually going to get to where you want to be with your playing? You probably have an idea of what you'd like to sound like when you play, but here's where you are now. Here's where you want to be. How are you going to fill this gap and cross that divide? It's a big question, right? Today, I'm going to talk about some essential skills that you need to not just know, but you need to develop a level of mastery over. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to play the vast majority of classic rock, pop, country, and blues music that you hear. And you're going to play it well. I'm going to show you why these skills are important and how to practice them so that you can be musical, confident, and creative when you go to play them. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm fighting a terrible sinus infection and pink eye. I probably look like a vampire. But go grab your guitar, open up your brain, and let's get into it. The first essential skill that every guitar player who is serious about becoming a good player should master is triads. Those little 3-note chords that can be found all over the guitar neck. And before you roll your eyes and say triads again, yes, triads at the top of the list. They're so useful not only for lead playing, where they help you outline chords melodically, but they're also essential to playing great rhythm guitar. Getting your triads down cold is probably the best way to really learn and open up the fretboard. Here's how you should practice, not to just kind of learn them, but to develop mastery. So if you like how I teach and you're an advanced beginner or an intermediate player that needs to develop a solid foundation in theory and technique so you can become a legitimate lead guitarist, I've just released a course called the Lead Guitar Roadmap, Piecing It All Together. We cover theory, technique, phrasing, soloing philosophy. There are loads of example licks and there's an example solo you can learn. It's a lot of fun. It's going to make you a better player. The link is in the description below, and as always, I appreciate your support. Number 1, practice playing the triads in a major key horizontally. I want you to be able to do this with root notes on each string. And in every major key, we've got 3 major triads, 3 minor triads, and a diminished triad. Let's play in the key of A major, and the triad of the root of the key is major. It's made up of a root, a note a major third above the root, and a note a fifth above the root. We move up a whole step to B, and we've got a minor triad now, B minor, and it's made up of that new root note B, a note a minor third above that, and again, a note a fifth above. Up another whole step, we've got C sharp, and again, it's a minor triad. For the 4th triad in the key, we move up just a half step to D. That triad's going to be major. We move up a whole step to E, and the 5th triad in the key is also major. Jump up a whole step to F sharp. The 6th triad in a key is minor. Move up another whole step to G sharp, and the 7th triad in a key is diminished. It's made up of a root, and then a minor third above the root, and then a minor third above that minor third. So we've got 3 minor thirds stacked together. Then we move up just a half step, and we're back to A major. Now, the shapes we just played, we started with our pinky on the root note and we crossed 3 strings. I also want you to learn shapes that have the index finger on the root note. Those would look like this. Here's A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, and G sharp diminished. And we also need to learn a shape with our middle finger on the root. Here's A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and we'd be back to A. Once you're comfortable playing through the key with the root notes on the E string, play them with the roots on the rest of the strings. For roots on the A string, the shapes are going to be the same. With roots on the D string, the shapes that are played on 2 strings stay the same. But the shapes that started with the pinky, they're going to change because of the B string tuning. The note on the B string will be raised 1 fret. Here's A major with the root on the A string. Here's A major with the root on the D string. And if you're starting on the B string, just learn the shapes with the index and 2nd finger on the root. Now, playing triads on just the high E is obviously a challenge, but just for fun, we can get our picking hand up on the fretboard and play triads on 1 string. Why do we need all these shapes? It's because you never know where you're going to be on the neck when you solo. Let's say you're up on the neck, you decide to play a triad-based lick, you're about to go for it, and you realize you don't know a shape in that part of the guitar. It's a terrible feeling because panic sets in, it interrupts your flow, and you have to fumble around to try to come up with something else to play. It's no good. Take the time to really learn this stuff so you can be super confident and just play when the time comes. Once you're really feeling solid, moving the shapes up and down the neck through a key horizontally, start practicing moving them vertically across the guitar neck. Utilizing the different shapes we've already learned, look how compactly I can play through the key. First, starting with the A major triad on the low E string. And then with the A major triad starting on the A string. Okay, that's good stuff. There are many more triad exercises we could do and shapes we could learn. But if you get what we just went over down rock solid, your fretboard knowledge is going to explode. Oh, make sure you practice this stuff in all 12 keys. Now on to our next essential skill. We're going to call this one Pentatonic Fluency. Now what the heck do I mean by pentatonic fluency? Pentatonic fluency is the ability to move through the 5 patterns freely so that you can play longer licks and phrases. I hear a lot of intermediate players whose licks sound, for lack of a better term, boxy. And it's because they're stuck playing licks in 1 pattern at a time. Here are some great practice drills to get you out of that boxy sound. We're going to be using A minor pentatonic. Start by playing on just 2 strings at a time and practice moving from pattern to pattern by ascending 4 notes, move up to the next pattern and descend through 4 notes. We'll repeat that all the way up and down the neck, and we're going to do it on every set of 2 adjacent strings. Here's the E and B strings. Here's the low E and A string. Let's expand to 3 strings, but we're going to add a little sequence in to make things more exciting. This little sequence sort of sounds like Eric Johnson. We're going to play 4 notes ascending, starting on the G string of pattern 1, and then we're going to go back to the last note we played on the G string at the 7th fret. And then we're going to play 4 notes ascending on the B and E strings. So we've got a grouping of 5 and a grouping of 4. Slide up to pattern 2, and we're going to play the same idea, but descending this time. And then we would take it on up the neck. I should point out that I'm picking in the following manner. For the grouping of 5, we're going down, up, down, up, up. For the grouping of 4, it's alternate picking, down, up, up. So we're doing an upward sweep on the 5th note of the 5-note grouping. And that works really well for me. Give it a try. We can also expand the previous pattern to 4 strings. That would give us 2 groupings of 5 and a grouping of 4 in each position. Now we can really start to hear that Eric Johnson or Joe Bonamassa type of sound. Diagonal pentatonic patterns are another great way to cover ground on the fretboard. There are 2 main ones that you should learn. The first one starts on the flat 7 or G for A minor pentatonic. We're going to play G and A on the low E string, then C and D on the A string, and slide into E. So that gives us our 5-note pattern. And then that pattern repeats on the D and G strings and on the B and E strings. The second shape, it starts on the 4th or D. We're going to play 2 notes per string on the E and A strings, so D, E, G, and A. Then we're going to play in C and D on the D string and slide into E, G and A on the G string, C and D and slide into E on the B string, and then G and A on the high E and slide into C. For major pentatonic, say A major, the 2 diagonal patterns start on the 5th or E, or the 2nd or B. The third essential skill that I think you should practice every day is 7th arpeggios. 7th arpeggios sound more colorful than triads, and the way they lay out on the fretboard, it makes it easier to play them fluidly. To get 7th arpeggios, we're just stacking the 7th interval from the root on top of each triad, and that gives us the following arpeggios in a major key. Let's go through A major, since that's where we did our triads. A major becomes A major 7. B minor becomes B minor 7. C sharp minor becomes C sharp minor 7. D major becomes D major 7. E major becomes E dominant 7 or just E7. F sharp minor becomes F sharp minor 7. G sharp diminished becomes G sharp minor 7 flat 5. There are so many different shapes and inversions that we can learn, but I'm going to show you some of the ones that I've found most useful over my decades of playing. First off, here are some 2-octave shapes with their root on the E string. Here's A major 7, B minor 7, C sharp minor 7, D major 7, E dominant 7, F sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7 flat 5, and that brings us back to A major 7. I also think you should know 2-octave shapes with their root on the A string. Let's take those through the key. Here's A major 7, B minor 7, C sharp minor 7, D major 7, E7, F sharp minor 7, G sharp minor 7 flat 5, which brings us back to A major 7. Now, a cool feature of those shapes is you can play the notes on just the high E, B, and G strings, and they sound great. So if you need a shorter lick idea, this is what you want to go for. I use these all the time. Here's A major 7 going to B minor 7. One last way to play 7th arpeggios that I think is great to know is 4-note groupings that repeat diagonally up and across the fretboard. Let's look at the types of arpeggios that are in the key of A major, and we're going to start these on the 7th, not the root. So technically, these are what we call third inversions. An inversion is an arpeggio that starts on a note other than the root and then goes on sequentially from there. A major 7, we've got G sharp, A, C sharp, and E. That pattern repeats on the D and G strings and on the B and E strings. So there's 3 octaves. A7, we've got G and A, C sharp and E. A minor 7, we've got G, A, C, and E. And what would be A minor 7 flat 5, we'd have G, A, C, and E flat. There's also an A diminished 7, but we're going to stick with arpeggios that are diatonic to the key. So now we've got all this harmonic information. I know you're going to practice it and get it down, but then what? Scales and patterns alone do not make up great guitar solos. The 4th essential skill that I think you should spend time on every day is what I call the integration of concepts, which just means that we're going to combine ideas to make up better sounding licks. All too often I hear intermediate players try to solo and there's no flow. It's kind of like, here's my pentatonic lick, here's an arpeggio lick, let me try a little tapping thing, but it's all disconnected. What if we spent a little bit of time every day writing licks that combine our different techniques? For instance, here's a simple lick where I'll play an A major 7 pattern into an A major pentatonic pattern descending through pentatonic 5s. That's what I mean by flow. Those two techniques integrated seamlessly into one another. Here's another one. Let's play a diagonal major pentatonic pattern starting at the E at the 12th fret of the low E string. We're going to play all the way up to the C sharp at the 21st fret of the high E. From there, we're going to play a descending triad bass lick where we bend the C sharp to D and release it, and then play the other 2 notes of the triad, A and E. Slide down with fretboard to the D at the 15th fret of the B string, and we start the process all over again. Lastly, let's combine those 2 licks. The 7th arpeggio, the pentatonic 5s, we're going to go all the way across the fretboard with those. Our diagonal pentatonic, and our triad bass lick. Put it all together. So there are some ideas that I know will get you over that intermediate hurdle and supercharge your playing. Remember, we don't want to learn techniques just for the sake of learning techniques. Ultimately, we want to be able to use techniques to create something pretty and interesting and musical. That, to me, is the essence of being a really good player. Knowing your skills so well that you can confidently go anywhere on the neck and pretty much play whatever you hear in your head. Practicing like this, really doing a deep dive, well, it's going to get you where you want to go. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Bye.